We got a tier list, baby. Alright, before anyone gets mad, the thumbnail is just a joke. It's like a joke on what I think, because I think CGR is better than Corvus, but I have them listed equally in the tier list, so no one get too upset. It's just a joke. The thumbnail is just a joke. I'm not saying that Corvus is worse than CGR, although I think it's true. Objectively speaking, I don't think that either are better. So before you guys start freaking out over the thumbnail, take a chill pill. And this is not a joke post at all. It's not a joke tier list. This is something I actually tried to do. It's based on my experience with the game. I've been playing for about 2 years now, and I heard you're not an MCOC YouTuber unless you have a tier list out. So if you guys don't have one out and you make YouTube videos, I suggest you make one, because I've been hearing from a lot of people you're not a YouTuber unless you have a tier list. At least have multiple tier lists. So I'm gonna start doing a bunch of tier lists just to put myself out there and become an actual YouTuber. Alright guys, so this is like post video B. Just realized the video without this clip is like 42 minutes long, and there's so much I talked about that I don't think it's necessary to cut everything out, because people who want to listen could take something from it. But most people aren't going to watch the whole video, which is fine. I don't expect people to watch a 42-minute long video. So instead, I'm going to have a pinned comment with timestamps of characters that I think that you guys will want to hear why I placed them where they're at. So, like Mr. Fantastic, for example, he might get some eyes. People might ask why he's in the meta-defining tier. I'll have a timestamp where I talk about him, and hopefully you guys are fine with clicking that if you care enough. This video is a lot longer than I thought it would be. I watched the whole video. There's not much I can edit out, so I left it as one whole clip, so it's not all like all blocked up or whatever. Not all cut up, I meant to say. But yeah, it's kind of late right now. Just gonna let the video render. Add this in the beginning. So if you're seeing this and you're curious about some things, just check the pinned comments. It's probably the best place to go for the beginning. The pinned comment or the description will be both, and then you'll find certain things. And if you don't see a character that you're wondering why they're placed where they're at, just message me in the comments. Just be like, hey, why is Spider-Ham here? And then I'll be like, blah 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 blah, or throw the timestamp in. But yeah, I'm not gonna have timestamps for every single character I talk about, because that would be stupid. But characters that are controversially placed, I think deserve a timestamp. So sorry for how long this video is. If you decide to watch the whole thing, I really appreciate it. I don't think there's many people who want to listen to me talk for 45 minutes once this clip's in there. So yeah, thanks for dealing with me. And thanks for watching, and I'll let you guys get back to the video. Okay guys, so all jokes aside, this is a serious tier list. I put some thought and effort into it. It'd be nice if you guys showed some respect and didn't just bash people's opinions in the comments. Like I said, like Seaton says, it's his tier list is his opinion, and my tier list is my opinion. It might look similar to some people's, might not look similar to other people's, because everyone has different experiences playing MCOC. I've played for about 2 years. I feel like I have a pretty decent grasp on most characters. Newer characters I'm not going to be able to update because I don't have access to them as easily as other people. Buff characters, I want to try to update this for the buff characters because it gives me a reason to try them out. So that's another reason I'm doing this, because it just gives me more motivation to test out characters for you guys and do like the testing streams, because we did one for War Machine, Ultron, and Ebony Maw. Forgot Ebony Maw even got buffed. But that was fun. We tested new characters, learned how to use them on stream. I feel like I have a pretty decent idea of how good they're going to be. And yeah, I feel like that would be fun to do every month before we update the tier list. So this is just something I can add to my rotation of videos, because I've been getting kind of stale with what I upload, because streams and uploads have gotten kind of just like stale. And I think this could spice things up, as well as allow me to interact with people more. It's fun talking to you guys in the comments, and what else will provoke a bunch of comments? A tier list with my own opinion.
So if you're gonna comment, just try to be nice. If you're not nice, I'm not gonna get offended or anything. I'm not gonna care. It's just gonna make your argument look bad. So if you're trying to prove a point, try to prove it respectfully, and I will do the same to you. So before we get into why characters are placed where they're at, obviously left is best, right is worst, green is good, red is bad, meta defining, meta, good, average, below average, and dog water. Dog water champs and below average champs need buffs, in my opinion. I don't really know if they need reworks or overhauls or value updates. All I know is they need a buff, and they need something to make them usable. Average, I feel like those characters only need value only. There's just like, they're usable, but they're not someone I'd like to use due to flaws in their kits, which I'll talk about, because there's some characters in here who people might think that are pretty good, and I don't know, I'm not a fan of some of them. And then some characters who are in like the top tiers, who you normally wouldn't think are in the top tiers, they're there due to their support value. Like Mr. Fantastic's in the top tier, although I think he's amazing to play on his own. He just provides so much to a team that, I don't know, I think he's deserving of a top spot. But we'll get into him in a second, because I don't think a lot of people think he's a meta defining champ, and I think he's pretty damn solid. So yeah, the keys on the right hand side, the star means they need a dupe. The star with like the background to it needs high sig. The target means they need skill. The group of people means they need synergies. Cheese means they're a cheese god. Like that little medical symbol means support. And then the skull means the ouchie masteries. And then below that, there's numbers. There's 120 characters who are better than average, in my opinion. And then there's 73 characters who are less than good. So average and below, there's 73. And then good and above, there's 121. Also, within tiers, there is no specific placing. Ghost at the top doesn't mean she's the best champ in the game, whereas Green Goblin being all the way on the right doesn't mean he's the absolute worst character in the game. Where they fall in the tier is just saying that I think they're in this tier. So Iron Man Infinity War is at the top of meta. That doesn't mean he's the top character in that tier. I have it set up this way because the meta tier and the good tier were actually really long, and they didn't fit on the screen the way I wanted them to, so I had to break them up. So the first bar is Tech Mutant Mystic, the second one Science Skill Cosmic. There's no specific order there. Just because one's closer to the left doesn't mean they're better than the one on the right. It's all situational. That just meta class, that meta tier, is just to show that these characters within this tier are all pretty equal, in my opinion. But let's get into some of my placements and why I think some characters are meta defining. So Ghost, Warlock, Guillotine 2099, Guardian, I don't think anything needs to be said about any of those guys. I think they're all very, very solid champs. Guardian at max sig has one of the highest energy resists in the game. He's like insane at max sig. He's such a tank. And then Hulkbuster is the only one I think that people would disagree with. I just think his damage is so insane that he deserves to be up there. There's not many characters who can out-damage Hulkbuster. He's insanely fast if you know how to use him, and I probably should have a skill emoji next to him, because he requires a bit of skill with his heavy spacing, because a lot of people complain about it, but there's ways around it. If you know how to use him and know how to optimize his rotations, he's one of the best tech classes or tech characters in the game. His damage is like, I think Ghost is the only tech champ who just beats his raw numbers. So that sounds a bit weird, but yeah, pretty much meta defining champs are, I think they're not really up for debate other than like Hulkbuster. I did want to have a top tier, which is broken, which would be Ghost and Quake, but you know, for ease of tier list, I'm just decided to make it one top tier. So let's go to the mutant class. We have Apocalypse, Archangel, Cable, Colossus, Magneto, Namor, Omega Red, and Professor X. I don't think there is any discussion with any of those. Some people might question Namor, but a max sig Namor is one of the most useful characters you can have. He'll always get a use. He kind of fell out of the meta, and then we had the Grandmaster's Gauntlet, and then all of a sudden people wish they had a Max Sig Namor. So he's always going to have his place in the game. For the Mystic class, Doctor Doom, Black Widow Clairvoyant, Sorcerer Supreme, and Tigra. Tigra is an iffy placement. I wanted to put her just in meta, but I think a very skilled Tigra player can do a ton of stuff, and you have to be insanely skilled with her. She becomes one of the best thing counters for Alliance War bosses if you know how to use her. She's just insanely OP when you know how to use her, so I think she's deserving of the top tier spot. For the Science class, you have I-Bomb, Captain Infinity War, Human Torch, Mr. Fantastic, Quake, She-Hulk, and Void. I think everyone would agree with all those except for Mr. Fantastic, and I'm a huge Mr. Fantastic fan. Daddy Longlegs, I think 93 is his, the numbers at the end. I'll link his channel in the description. He's a huge Mr. Fantastic advocate, and Mr. Fantastic support value alone is enough for me to think he's one of the top meta characters in the Science class. With Max Despair, you can place 3 debuffs at the start of the fight with his pre-fights, and that will help mitigate any healing, because he's got the Petrify debuff, then he's got the Combat Power Rate Suppression, and then the Damage Over Time Enhancer debuff. He's just so useful, and he's so consistent. You can have 100% uptime on a Petrify debuff the whole fight. You can get up to 3 of each debuffs that you place with the pre-fight. I think he's more consistent than Captain America and Void, and he's more of a specialized Science character, whereas Void and Captain America are more generalized. But I think Mr. Fantastic is heavily underrated, and a lot of people need to start testing him, using him, and they'll realize that he's actually very, very, very solid. I'm going to take mine to rank 3. I'm going to start trying to put out more content on him, and hopefully some people will open their eyes who decide to watch my videos. For the skill class, we have Aegon. For like normal Act 6, Act 7 content, he's not the greatest, but I mean, it's a given. He's a meta-defining character. He has a spot. Labyrinth of Legends, Abyss of Legends, he's one of the top options, if not the top option. So that says a lot about Aegon. Falcon, Kingpin, Mole Man, Nick Fury, and Shang-Chi. I don't think a lot of those need explanation other than Kingpin. Kingpin alone is a monster, and then you bring him with some synergies, and he's got so much utility. If you bring him with the hood, you could bypass so many nodes that place debuffs on you. He gets like a guaranteed shrug. He's just a beast. I don't think he needs awakening. Don't think Mole Man or Falcon really need their awakening. Just Falcon's defensive ability accuracy reduction alone is enough for me to put him at the top. Having a guaranteed 100% ability accuracy reduction, defensive ability, is just that's enough for me to say that's pretty insane. Nick Fury, he's got a spot. He's one of the best bleed characters in the game, and Shang-Chi. A lot of people think he's overrated. I don't think he is. He's one of those characters up there with Quake and Ghost, in my opinion. Just the amount of ground he covers is pretty nuts. CGR, Corvus Glaive, Captain Marvel movie, Hyperion, and Medusa for the top of the Cosmic class. Not much needs to be said for either of these. Yeah, I personally think Cosmic Ghost Rider in the right hands is the best Cosmic character in the game. But there's something about Corvus Glaive with I don't want to say the S word, but the ouchie masteries. When you have a full set of the ouchie masteries, just something about doing the medium light to your special 2, seeing all those crits. A lot of people love it. It's nice in AQ. I've never really used my Corvus anywhere else other than a couple niche fights in like Act 6 and Act 7, but I do understand his value within the game. Captain Marvel movie, I think she's dropped off a little bit, but when she's at high sig, you can go indestructible for like 12 seconds, I think, which is pretty OP. So that's pretty awesome while doing a ton of damage. Hyperion's a timeless character. He ages like fine wine. He's always going to be a top Cosmic character unless they add characters better than him. Medusa, I wanted to put her in just the meta tier, but I think now that she's released as a 6-star and like Cavs and stuff, or I think it was Cavs when she first came out, and more people get their hands on her eventually, I think it'll be the next 6-star featured. She'll see another resurgence, and hopefully more people will use her. I think she's pretty cool. I've never really got to use her that much, but I know her value. Now for the meta tier, we have Iron Man Infinity War, Doc Ock, Howard the Duck, Mysterio, Sentinel, Spider-Man Stark Enhanced, Ultron Prime, and War Machine. I think a lot of people would put Iron Man Infinity War in the good tier. I just think he covers so much ground, and his infinite damage ramp up potential is just so valuable that he can work for a lot of health pools. He's a solid option in the Abyss, is not a lot of people would think he is, but he can solo some Abyss fights. You do need some skill when using him. His Awaken ability is ideal, so you can just constantly get that passive power gain over time when you're below 15% health with the passive armor up. That's pretty much all I gotta say about him. He's a jack of all trades but master of none, and I think he covers a lot of ground that a lot of people don't really think he can. He's not the best at anything, but he's good at a lot of things. Doc Ock, not much needs to be said about him. He's a beast. Howard the Duck, I personally strongly dislike his buff, but he covers a lot of ground now with his buff, and the amount of damage you can ramp up is pretty significant. I think he's going to find his place in the rest of Act 7 for those who like his play style, and people are gonna do a lot of crazy stuff with Howard the Duck in Act 7. I think he's one of those characters who, like, he feels weird to play now, but he has like an access to a ton of buffs, a ton of debuffs. That's just utility within itself, in my opinion, because buffed up, distract, and then other nodes. I think he's pretty solid, although I can't stand mashing my phone screen. Mysterio, passive heal block is still very, 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 very good. Especially on a light attack, you can get it for like 6 seconds, so you can have constant passive heal block for the whole fight if you decide to do that. You'll give up on some damage, but even if you do decide to give up on the passive heal block and use poison will reduce healing. So he's one of the ultimate heal counters. Warlock's the best in my opinion, but Mysterio's up there. Sentinel's the OG mutant killer. Warlock's the best. Sentinel's the second best in my opinion. Ideally needs dupe. I would put Ouchie Mastery emoji next to him, but I don't think he needs it. Spider-Man Stark Enhanced is still very good. He's not a jack of all trades, but he's a master of one, which is power control. He's really solid. The taunt on his every 5 hits when he's got the poise up is awesome. Power drain and heavy is awesome. Stun locking ability is awesome. Newly buffed Ultron Prime, he's a beast. He had some bugs when he first came out, so a lot of people were turned off to him. I think they're fixed now. If they aren't, they'll likely get fixed and people will open their eyes a bit. I don't even think he needs his synergies. I don't even think he needs his dupe. He's just a beast on his own. He's going to take some getting used to with his evade, but I think he's pretty much a beast. War Machine is in the meta tier just because of his support value. His damage alone when you ramp him up is pretty awesome, but other than that, he doesn't have much utility other than his really strong armor up buff. I think you can use his pre-fights for himself, and if you can, he would pair very well with the energy resistance one based on your current armor rating, because his armor up buff is just insane. It would turn him into like a budget guardian. I'm talking a bit too much here for this tier. There's Domino, Gambit, Havoc, Magneto, Storm, Strife, Sunspot, Wolverine, and Weapon X. Domino, I think, personally I think she's in the good tier, but a lot of people like her. I don't even think she needs her dupe. Don't even think she needs her synergies. You could get a lot of damage out of her without her synergies, although she's heavily enhanced by them. I don't think she's a meta-defining mutant character, but she's pretty solid. She fits in the meta though. Gambit with his perfect block, he's just a cheese ball. Not much needs to be said there. If you don't know much about Gambit, I'd definitely look into some Gambit gameplay. I have some on my channel. I know some other people do. Perfect block is insane. It was one of the things they nerfed back in 12.0 because of how insane it was, yet they give it to us through Gambit. Don't sleep on Gambit. Havoc, not much needs to be said about him. Magneto, House of X, I think he's a really strong character. His support value puts him into the meta, but he's also insanely strong. Super reliable. He has 70% ability accuracy reduction at all times against metal characters who aren't immune to ability accuracy reduction, so that's pretty solid in my books. Storm Pyramid X, she could bounce between meta and good. She's got some cool abilities that counter some stuff, so I think that puts her up in the top tier. Strife, he's a weird one because he's a beast, but he doesn't do anything like that defines the meta. So he's kind of just like, he's good. He could be using X7, he could be using he can be using Abyss, can be using Labyrinth, but he's not like a top option for anything. Sunspot, he's just a solid character. I don't know if he's exactly a meta character, but his special damage, perfect block, it's all pretty solid in my opinion. Wolverine with the Horseman ability, along with the Alchemy Masteries and his Awaken ability, he's just a beast. Weapon X, I think, is a very solid champ that doesn't get used enough. Not much needs to be said about him. He's a trophy champ, so he's not really that relevant to a lot of players, but for those who have him, he's pretty solid. For the Mystic class, we have Dragon Man, Longshot, Magic, Mojo, Sasquatch, and Symbiote Supreme. I don't really think any of these really need an explanation. They're all pretty damn good. Mojo, when he's fully ramped up and high sig, he's very solid. Magic's one of the best power control champs in the game, if not the best. Longshot's a beast. Dragon Man's a beast. Sasquatch hits like a truck. Symbiote Supreme is still the best stagger champ in the game. For the Science class, we have Immortal Hulk, which a lot of people disagree with. I'll talk about in a second. Red Hulk, Spider-Ham, Thing, Wasp, and Spider-Gwen. Immortal Hulk is the most sustainable character in the game if you know what you're doing. I had this misconception that when you're using him, you're killing yourself, and you really aren't. You just need to know how to use him. So those who say, oh, you just kill yourself, you don't know what you're doing. Take a second to learn the character. Buddy Lee has really good iHulk videos. He's the reason why I put iHulk in the meta class. There's a lot of paths in 7.2 that iHulk works for. Coincidence? I don't think so. 7.3 and 7.4 will have more paths for iHulk. I can guarantee you that he's almost becoming necessary to have it ranked 2 or higher as a 6-star for a Legends run, just because of his speed through certain paths that are basically designed for him, in my opinion. He needs skill, and he's a cheese god, in my opinion. You could go absolutely crazy with him and play like you're playing a Hulk, and then you'll probably kill yourself, but when you play him like he's kind of designed to be, you could have the most sustainable character in the game. You could leave fights at 100 health plus 100 stored gamma, which means you have 200% total health, or 185%. I don't know how all the math works. Red Hulk, super solid, doesn't need his awakening, doesn't need anything, he's solid. Spider-Ham's amazing, best power sync champ in the game, who doesn't rely on a synergy for it. Thing, I don't think he even needs his synergies to be a meta champ. All he needs is his max sig ability, and you're going places. Wasp, I think she's very underrated. I think I should have put synergies required because she gets some utility with her synergies, but she's a very solid character that a lot of people sleep on. Spider-Gwen's another one of those characters, one of the better slow champs in the game. Not much needs to be said about her. If you're going against the superior class, when you get like 3 or more of her spider charges or whatever, she can fully evade unblockable specials 100% of the time or something. For the skill class, we have Black Panther Classic, Blade, Crossbones, Elsa, Jabari Panther, Killmonger, Night Thrasher, and Spider-Man Stealth Suit. I think the skill class is probably going to be the most controversial when it comes to like other people's thoughts on how I rank them. Black Panther, high sig with synergies, he's just insane. Damage per second is nuts. I don't really think much needs to be said about that. If you disagree, watch some videos, test them out yourself, and you'll probably agree with me. Although his reliance on synergies is kind of annoying, but it's whatever. Blade is still very solid with his full trinity. You shut down a lot. He's a budget option for that Terrax and Gauntlet if you just want to get through initial completion. You could run his full synergy team, or the Trinity or whatever, and you can get through it pretty easily because there's a lot of villains on that path. Excuse me. Crossbones, I personally don't think is that great, just because of his high stress play style, but if you know how to use him and you know how to optimize it, he is a very, very, very good character. One of the highest damage potentials in the game. Also Bloodstone, I have not really used her that much, although she's got a huge fan base. Well, I don't know if it's a huge fan base, but a loyal fan base. She's very underrated from what I've seen. Check her out if you have not yet. Jabari Panther, the first person with the cleanse charges. Amazing utility. Brings a lot. I probably should have put support on there because she helps out all the Panthers in the game a lot, in my opinion. She's super solid. Her damage is pretty solid. She's pretty good. Killmonger, I think, fell off a little bit a while back, and now he's back with he's back into the meta with like Alliance War. A lot of people are taking theirs to rank 3 because he's one of the best Mcoc counters, one of the best counters to, I think, Node 55. He's just insanely good. He's a tank. I think he's a very good character. There's my boy Night Thrasher. I think he has enough sauce in his kit to be a meta character. If you disagree, do your own research, know how to play him before you try to scream at me. He does need max sig, he does need synergies, but when you provide him what he needs, he will get the job done for you if you know how to use him. I really make that point that you need to know how to use him and need to know how to maximize everything that's in his kit. If you don't, you're not going to like him. And I get it, he's not everyone's cup of tea, but you can't deny that he's great in the right hands with the right synergy team, just like I didn't deny it. Crossbones is good. I said Crossbones is good. I think Night Thrasher's good. I'm not a fan of Crossbones, but in the right hands, he's a beast. Crossbones does rely on synergies, though, but I've seen him played without it, and he works perfectly fine. So I don't think he needs synergies. Stealth Suit Spider-Man, there's people either love him or hate him. He's the easiest slow champ in the game, although he's not the best. I think Shang-Chi's the best, then She-Hulk. But Spider-Man, a stealth suit, he's got some cool utility, got some high damage. I mean, he doesn't have ramping damage, but he's good for quicker fights. But that's about it for the skill class and the meta class. Angela, Call Obsidian, Hela, Odin, Red Goblin, Silver Surfer, Terrax, Venom, and Vision Arcus. I think all those characters hold some value within the meta right now. Angela at a certain sig level can take no damage from damage over time debuffs because she reduces the duration enough because of the way her sig ability works. I'm not entirely sure on the wording, but I know she can bypass like Biohazard, Icarus, basically anything where you get a debuff from striking the opponent, or anything from just getting debuff in general. She can reduce the duration. Call Obsidian, I still think he's a beast. When you ramp him up, he hits like a truck. Hela, although she's not being talked about much, she still has one of the highest damage potentials in the game with Odin, although she needs Odin. But I still think she's worth putting in there. Odin by himself, I think he's good, but his pre-fights, I think he puts him in the meta tier. He's needed for Legends runs for Ghosts, in my opinion, and he's a solid character on his own. His pre-fights add a lot of benefit to certain characters that you would put them onto. You can make anyone bypass shock damage, which is pretty cool. You take 95% less damage from it, so you'll likely heal from willpower. Pretty cool in my opinion. Then we got Red Goblin, who I think is a very underrated character. You need some skill to know how to use him. Needs high sig, I think. But in the right hands, and if you pair him with Odin, he's probably in a meta-defining class because he's just broken. But, I mean, I think he's a very underrated character. Silver Surfer, is not a lot of people really like him. I enjoy him. You need max sig. I don't really think you need skill to use him, but some people think there's a lot of clock watching. He's not that bad once you learn his rotation and learn the flow of his kit. He bypasses a lot, takes no damage from Shock, Incinerate, and Cold Snap unless there's a damage modifier. He heals from them and treats them like buffs to increase his damage, so you can cheese certain things with him, so he's got his use. Terrax, I still am bouncing between good and meta. I put him in meta for now because his damage is very good. He's got some cool utility. Venom, really debated putting him in meta defining or meta. I still think meta is the perfect spot because he's got a lot of things he could do, but he's not the best at a lot of things. And then Vision Arcus, I think he's just a meta character. His ability to shut down robots with armor shatter is one of only characters in the game who can do it, other one being Medusa. His power gain's awesome. The only thing that sucks is his immunities. He has none. Although his tenacity is nice from his awakened ability, it's only for non-damaging debuffs. It could let you get around encroaching stun, but it's not relevant enough for me to desire it. So I think for the meta-defining class and meta class, that's my reasoning. And then we'll start pinning out certain characters who I think are controversial placements in the lower tiers. Although good, I don't think is a lower tier. The tech class, don't think there's anything too controversial there. The mutant class, some people could say Jubilee's just average. I think a lot of people are not using her. She's got insane bursty damage. She's got some cool utility. You just need to know how to use her. She's got one of the best slow debuffs in the game for one of the longest durations. So she's got some cool stuff in her kit, but nothing to make her insane. She's cursed by her class, but I think she's really good. Psylocke with the Horseman ability, really good. I don't think anyone else in the mutant class is really up for debate there. The good class for Mystic, Dr. Voodoo, he's really good. Man-Thing, a lot of people would put him average or below average. I think you need to try to use him with his synergies, and you'll see some really cool things with him. He's really sustainable when you have him awakened, but you don't really need it. I think he's really underrated with high Mystic Dispersion. He's worth trying out, or at least watching some videos on. Mephisto, he could cheat death like 3 times in one fight with his synergy, so that alone is pretty cool. I feel like he's heavily underrated, although I haven't really tested him much. I'd love to get my hands on a 6-star so I could just level him up and test him out. Morningstar, I almost put her in meta because she's one of the best incursions champs, but her ramp up really slows her down in my opinion. Scarlet Witch Classic, she's not really available as a 6-star, I don't think she is at least. And she's still rare as a 5-star, so she's not really that relevant, but she's still pretty good. For the science class, don't think there's anyone too out of place there. Abomination with the Red Guardian synergy is a beast. Hulk Ragnarok has cool utility that just puts him in there. Luke Cage with the right synergies and some skill can pack out a punch, and you can tank special 3s and stuff. Mr. Negative, I haven't really seen much on him. I don't think he's going to be a meta character. I think he's just be good. Some people are going to like him, some people aren't. Red Guardian's going to be Red Guardian's cool. I just don't really like him. He's kind of impractical to play. Black Widow, Daredevil, Gwenpool, Hitmonkey, Massacre, Ronin, Squirrel Girl, and Taskmaster. People are going to give me crap for Hitmonkey, but he's overrated. He doesn't have much utility. I just don't think he's as good as everyone says he is. Unless you're running the Ouchie Masteries, then he's solid, I guess, but he's completely outshined by a lot of other skill bleeders in the game that I don't think he's anyone's top option for anything. And if you use him for stuff, it's probably because you like him, and that's fine. We're all allowed to like certain characters. I just don't think he's as valuable as everyone says he is. It's kind of overrated in my opinion. Gwenpool's cool. Her utility's kind of low, I guess. Her awakened ability helps a little bit. Ronin's cool, you need a little bit of skill for him. Squirrel Girl's cool. Taskmaster's really cool if you know how to use him, but not a lot of people take the time and effort to invest and learn him, so I could see his relevancy being low, but for those he's relevant too. He's very good with his concussions, his damage. One glaring champion here, Daredevil Hell's Kitchen. A lot of people don't think he's good. They'll probably put him in the dog water tier, and that's because they run the Ouchie Masteries, but you got to remember that there's people in the game who don't run those Masteries, and Daredevil covers a lot of ground for them. Having a max sig, he has like the signature ability similar to Namor's, but you don't reflect the damage back. You can have constant willpower healing the whole fight. Although his healing is reduced to 40%, it's still pretty sustainable if you're not running the Ouchie Masteries. There's just some matchups that screw him up where you think a skill champ would be good for debuffs, but You can get 100% defensive ability accuracy reduction with him through just one synergy and having your combo meter above 16 hits. A lot of people sleep on that, and it's pretty useful for a lot of people. So before you start getting all mad that he's in there, try to understand why some people value the character and why he's relevant to other people, because he's not a bad character at all. Black Bolt with synergy is good. Carnage is good. His damage is just really good. He's one of the highest damaging or damage per second champs in the game, I think, or in the Cosmic class. Might be wrong. I think he's top 10 damage per second. I can't remember. Heimdall, just his support value, super good. King Groot is insanely sustainable. His damage is okay with synergies. Kamala Khan, as much as you guys would love to say she's dog water, she's actually very solid. Again, take the time to learn her. Maybe you'll understand that she doesn't need an overhaul. Proxima Midnight is super impractical because she does insane special damage, but there's nowhere ever to utilize it. Ronan is just a cheese god, so he's always going to be relevant. And Venom the Duck's solid, I guess. He's one of the better incursions champs. I just don't really use him that much. His ramp up's impractical for anything outside of Act 5. But he's really cool for incursions, so I put him in the good class. Average class, we have Civil Warrior, Kang, Rocket Raccoon, and Ultron LOL. Civil Warrior I put as average because he's got a lot of flaws in his kit. If you like him and you know how to use him well and can bypass the abilities that I find hold him back, kudos to you. You get a lot of value out of the guy. He's got really high damage, but he's super stressful to play. So much clock watching. You only do like 4 or 5 hits in a combo, and you have to dash back, hold block to convert the armor up to keep your Furies up. He's just too stressful. So I don't think he's that great. I think he's just an average character in my opinion. With some solid changes to his buffed kit, I think he could be good or a meta character. We're at the point now where these characters I think could benefit from some tweaking. I'd love if there were just these 3 tiers on my left in the game. The meta-defining meta and good characters. But we have some bad characters in the game. Gold Pool, Mr. Sinister, Nightcrawler, Old Man Logan, and Platinum Pool. None of those characters are extremely good other than Mr. Sinister in my opinion, if you know how to use him and if you like using him. He's got little to no relevance because the Apocalypse synergy with Mr. Sinister is also shared with Cable, who is 10 times better than him. So not much needs to be said about Mr. Sinister in my opinion. Nightcrawler's got a cool kit. He has a lot of damage but not a lot of utility, so he's just an average character to me. If they gave him some utility, enhance his damage a little bit, he could be very good. Old Man Logan, he's another one of those characters, just meh. He's got some cool damage, doesn't have much utility. Platinum Pool, don't know much about. I've seen some cool things with him, but I don't think he's that great. Dormammu, Ebony Maw, Ghost Rider, Guillotine Loki, Mangog Mordo, Purgatory, The Hood, Thor Jane Foster. None of those really need to be talked about, I don't think. Ebony Maw used to be dog water, and now he's average, which is what they needed to do with his buff. I'd like to see him in the good tier. I just think there's some things holding him back that makes him a lot less practical than other mystics to run. But his damage is there. He's good for just generic matchups where you don't really need buff control. The degen damage is cool. He's going to be good for progressing players, but players who already have a defined Mystic roster, they're not going to have a use for Ebony Maw. Ghost Rider fell off. I don't think he's that great anymore. He's still one of the most sustainable champs in the game, but his damage is pretty bad. Guillotine got a cool synergy that makes her do some insane damage, but no utility at all, so she's not really practical, therefore she's average. Loki has some cheese aspects. Mangog is solid. I still want to test him. I think he could be a good character. I just haven't really been able to test him that much. Mordo is solid if you know how to use him. He's good for like certain niche nodes, like resistor nodes. Purgatory is flawed as hell. There's going to be some really cool videos that you see with her, and she's going to be doing some cool things, but take her into a quest and you need her to take a fight because you died with another character. You could lose one of your cross fights that you wanted to save for the final boss. So it's a huge flaw in her kit in my opinion, and if she just kept a persistent charge for each soul or each class she defeated, she wouldn't even be broken if she had all of them. So I don't really get it. Like Morningstar's pretty busted when she's got 5 souls, so I don't get why Purgatory can't have all 5 classes at the same time. The Hood, he's still waiting to get rebuffed. I think he's just average. He's got some cool utility. one of the only characters with, I think, Fate Seal left in the game. I think it's a Hex Seal is what they call it in this kit. Thor Jane Foster's guaranteed crits when they're when the opponent's stunned when you're awakened, so pretty cool. Ant-Man can do some cool damage with the full synergy team, but he's not that great, needs a rework. Invisible Woman's cool. She could be good, but she's got a really stressful play style, so she needs some skill. Mcoc needs some slight tweaks. Yellow Jacket needs some slight tweaks. Black Widow, Hawkeye, Korg, Thor Rags, Winter Soldier, all of them could benefit from a value only, except for Winter Soldier. I think he needs a moderate. Annihilus, Gamora, Nova, Phoenix, Spider-Man, Symbiote, and Thor, all those characters would benefit from just another moderate. Annihilus is too, you need to play super aggressive with Annihilus and have him at max sig, but when you have him there, he can dish out some cool damage. It's just super impractical to play him. Gamora, you gotta spam heavies to keep her buffs up. Nova he's got some cool damage on his basic attacks, I guess, but he's insanely wonky to play. He's not fun to use. Phoenix with some synergies can do some cool damage, but overall she's not that great. Symbiote Spider-Man, another one of those characters with synergies who can do some cool damage. Overall, not that great. Thor, he's pretty cool, can do some cool damage. Overall, not that great, doesn't have a lot of utility. Below average, I don't think any of these characters need to be explained upon. Super Skrull is the only one where I think people try to make an argument. Yeah, he's just garbage. His rotation is super stressful for minimal payout. He's just like a defending character, I think. He's just a defender. And then the Dog Water tier is just absolutely garbage. I wouldn't even bother. I'm not even going to bother talking about that. Just looked, and we've been going for 38 minutes, so this is going to be a long video. Only reason it's this long is so I can have my initial thoughts on all these characters presented to you guys. If you guys listened to the whole thing, really appreciate it. Highly doubt you guys did, which is completely fine. I completely understand. And then same people who didn't watch the whole video are going to go in the comments and complain about my placings and didn't even bother listening to why I said their place where they are. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. That's what happens when you put your opinion on the internet. But yeah, just reiterating for you guys, this whole tier right here is one tier. Think of it as going down the whole way from here down without selecting everything. So it's like in this class down. I couldn't fit it due to the way that the tier list was designed. This would end up being down here, and you guys wouldn't be able to see it. Same thing with the good class. So all these tier, like this is one, this is one. So think of it as a 6-tiered tier list, not this is eight lines. Think of it as 6 because those two are they each have their own main line. It's just I had to split them up for real estate issues on the screen. I will definitely link this in the description for those who want to see it. I'll actually have comments on, so if you guys want to comment, let me know what you would like to see changed. Please don't try to troll because it's just not fun. I'll just remove the ability to comment, and then we'll no longer have comments. You guys will just have to drop it in the comments below in the actual YouTube video. But I'd like for you guys to be able to like put your comment on the actual sheet and say, hey, I think Massacre should be buffed up or bumped up to meta because he does this, this, and this. I'm not saying that anyone would really say that, but I think it'd be cool for this to be an interactive sheet for people who decide to put their opinion out there, and it's probably gonna be ruined by those who decide to troll. But that's gonna be it for me, guys. If you enjoyed the video, let me know. It's a long video. I highly doubt anyone's still watching. So take care, and I hope that you guys have a great day.